Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Robert Phoenix, testing 1, 2, 3, broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg. What's happening? What's going on, Judy? Good morning. Nice to see you. Everybody on the 15 Minutes of Flame side. I can't get into the chat today. It is what it is. So we had an epic show last night over on the 11th house, and we really got into a lot of stuff astrologically. And I'm gonna skip the astrological portion of today because we went over so much last night, including the chart for the week ahead. So really, if you're into the astrology stuff, hang out with us on Sunday night. It's a great hang, really lively group, and cover a lot of territory, a lot of ground. So today it's mostly going to be about Jeffrey Epstein, not Brian Epstein, the manager of the Beatles, but Jeffrey Epstein, George Epstein, the manager of the Beatles. One of the funny lines from 24-Hour Party People. Excuse me while I finish my power coffee. Let me just get this out of the way. You come to our event in October. If you come to our event in October, I will be making power coffee on Friday morning. Everybody, that first morning, everybody's going to get a cup of my power coffee. How about that? That's right. Power to the participants. My special power coffee blend on Friday morning. That'll be our sacrament, our holy sacrament to start things off. Okay, let me get into this now. Let's see what we got in the chat room. We've got JMP Love. Hey, what's happening, JMP? There's Isla and Haven. Hello, and then Anna, and then Paulette. It's going to be a hot week. Damn right, it's going to be hot. Absolutely. Things are heating up. It's going to be hot here in Texas. We're going to be in the upper 90s. Might even break the century mark this week. We had a wonderful, wonderful late spring, early summer kind of reprieve. It was kind of cool and a little breezy. We had some rain. It was fantastic. Best spring, early summer that I've had here, even though there was some intense water, intense rain, potentially a lot of flooding as well. Anyway, but it's going to start to get equatorial here very, very quickly. So Paulette is right on the money, spot on. Let's see. Hey, Robert, did you catch your RT piece on a father digging for his son whose mother has convinced the boy that he's fighting? I've covered pieces like that. I don't know. There's one in Canada where it was a girl, and I think I've heard about this case. We're going to see more and more of this as time sort of elapses here, and I guarantee you the courts will not be kind to the man. They can't be. If there is a precedent that's set, then that precedent will go all the way probably up to the Supreme Court and will have major ramifications on the nomenclature of the sex and determining what we call a man and a woman. I guarantee you the father is going to go up against the powers that be in this area because they want to destabilize our identity, our gender identity. It's part of the plan, and it comes into this later development of transhumanism about what is even a human anymore. And you want to talk about confusion? Holy shit. That's going to be on like Donkey Kong. Yesterday I was on a show with Jay Widener and Yvonne Palermo. Covered a lot of territory. And one of the things that Jay brought up was gene splicing and gene editing. Yeah, and that's very doable now. Very, very doable. They have the CRISPR editors, CRISPR, and basically they're like, it's like a film editor for your DNA. It's kind of far out and amazing. And the thing about the CRISPR editors is that they're very affordable. There are people who can be basically home brewing CRISPR editors. I think that's going to be sort of the next, like just how Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were doing home computing. Because remember, computing at one time was the domain of companies like Hewlett-Packard and IBM and Sperry Rand. They had these massive, massive computers. And it took a small army of people to operate them and program it and interpret the data. And they were revolutionary in the sense that they were doing it in their garage. It was like kind of the equivalent of people building their own cars in their garage while Detroit is pumping out, thousands and thousands of cars on a yearly basis. So it was a radical break from computing in general. The same thing is going to be happening with the gene technologies. People are going to be doing the CRISPR stuff at home, and you're going to have people in their garages or setting up shops where they're actually doing their own gene editing and gene splicing. And it's coming. It is coming. And what Jay said is that he said that in the West here, and I agree with him, we have a lot of morality around our bodies and God and how our bodies are an image of God and you don't mess with God. The Chinese don't have the same kind of morality. And he said that I guarantee you the Chinese will be, cutting and splicing and editing because they believe that they will move towards some model of biological and physiological perfection. That's their plan. And that if the United States is going to keep up now, it's not going to be just a technology race or a software race. It'll be a gene slicing, gene pool race. So the idea that we're battling over the nomenclature or the pronouns of he and she or boy and girl and the battleground of basically controlling that consciousness in a very young being, that's just the first stage. The next stage, the next horrific stage is what is it to be a human in general? Because that's where this kind of it's not even a Darwinian nightmare. It's a kind of an Atlantean nightmare. That's where it's all headed, and we're going to get into stuff like hybrids and chimeras and all kinds of crazy shit. That's coming, unless we have another version of the flood, in which case we'll be having a very, very different conversation. We won't. We'll be huddled in our caves somewhere, making drawings on the sides of walls about how things used to be. Let me see who's in the chat room right now. We have that case is from Texas. All right, I'll check it out. JMP. Good morning, Mary. CRISPR editors, watch out. Results are not stable for current and future generations. I'd agree with you. I would agree with you, Paul. That's not gonna stop certain people, though, right? It's just not. Especially and I believe Jay's right. I'm not being racist when I believe that the Chinese, not the people here in this country, but the Chinese in China, they'll be all over it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe in this country too. I don't know. All right, so shall we jump into the Epstein stuff? Okay. So we had two events that were almost simultaneous on Saturday night, Friday night and Saturday. One was on Friday, the other was on Saturday, so they were separated by 24 hours roughly. The first event was the 7.1 earthquake in Ridgecrest, California. We went over that earthquake both on Facebook Live and on last night's show, where I actually was able to bring up the chart and pinpoint that there was Uranus right on the IC. And so for you non-astrological people, the IC is the bottom of the chart and it's the home. And it's one of the cardinal points of the chart. It's a really important point. And it's connected to the summer solstice. And Uranus is a planet that is known for destabilization, revolution, creativity, spontaneity. It's kind of radical. It's scientific. Uranus is the planet that goes rogue, theoretically, right? And in Taurus, it's in the Earth sign. In fact, I actually think Taurus is the sign of the Earth. And if we could do a heliocentric chart, I believe the Earth would be Taurus. That's my take. If we're going to split off Libra and Taurus, Venus can have Libra, the Earth is Taurus. And so we're dealing with Earth energies here, radical Earth energies, right on the IC and right at the time of that quake. And I watched that quake, as I said last night, as I was watching the Summer League basketball game from Las Vegas. People were freaking out, and then they stopped Summer League. In fact, they even had very, very small structural damage to the floor in Mac Arena in Las Vegas. How about that? All the way from Ridgecrest to Las Vegas. And I have friends in Las Vegas who actually echoed the fact that they felt that earthquake. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And that happened. And then the following night, another earthquake hit, and that was the Jeffrey Epstein arrest. That is the Jeffrey Epstein arrest. And there are some very unusual components to this. Now, one of the things that I found out with the Epstein stuff is that, let me go back here. Give me 1 sec. One of the things that I found out about the Epstein stuff is that one of the people that was involved in getting these documents unsealed is Mike-Cernovich. Let me see if I can find the link here. This is from cernovich.com. I'm not a big Mike-Cernovich fan. I'm just not. But he's working hand in glove with Alan-Dershowitz. And Cernovich is a lawyer. So he's working hand in glove with... Why would Alan-Dershowitz want these court records unsealed? This is a really, really important piece here. All right, here we go. So I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to throw this to you guys over on the YouTube side of things. I wish I could get over on the 15-minute side. I'm having problems getting in today. All right, here we go. Paulette says, Chinese now admitting to everything from clones, walking in the street, and chimeras. Nothing seems to faze them. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Hey, what's going on, Suze? Shanna says, Cloud Atlas. That's what reminds me of the whole chimera and gene splicing thing. It's a movie. I've seen Cloud Atlas. It's a very subversive movie in a lot of ways. One of the main stories of Cloud Atlas, or one of the main themes of Cloud Atlas, is the fact that that there is, at the end of the movie, because there's always this weird kind of dance, polarity dance going on with Cloud Atlas, and it usually involves race. It usually involves either Asian versus Asian/white, or Asian versus white, or white versus black, and in that case, almost always, black, or the so-called black race, is portrayed as good and benevolent for the most part. And the white race tends to be more on the, how shall I say this, despicable side, unless, of course, there's somebody breaking ranks and being supportive of the so-called black race. I don't have any problem with that, but that's one of the main themes of the movie. And then, as the movie continues to play out, the ultimate... I'm going to give you guys a spoiler here if you haven't seen Cloud Atlas. I think it's an actually very interesting movie with a lot of programming involved. A lot of programming in Cloud Atlas. Because in Cloud Atlas, this whole idea of the human is really stretched. And this is what Shanna was talking about. And they use the same actors over and over and over again in these various timelines and these various personas. And that in the book, what they can't convey in the movie, or don't really convey in the movie, that they do convey in the book, is that these other timelines are impacting other timelines. And so future selves and past selves are impacting characters in so-called present time, which is when the book was written. They don't really convey that as much in the movie. It's almost like there are these separate vignettes in a lot of ways where people are playing these different kind of incarnational roles, from the past and into the future. But at the end, and I'm going to give you a spoiler here, so if you don't want to hear it, go like this, right? Go like that. I have to wait for my image to come up. Oh, hell, I'll just tell you. Okay. So if you watch Cloud Atlas, what is the end result? The end result of Cloud Atlas is that there is one race left of the human race, and it is a golden race. It's a golden race. And the golden race is the offspring and the progeny of Halle Berry's character and Tom Hanks's character. And their wonderful little golden tribe is hanging out on another planet somewhere. That's the resolution of all the duality in Cloud Atlas and all the timelines. It converges into a new race, and it is the blending of the so-called white and the so-called black race. That's how Cloud Atlas resolves itself. Okay, just so if you watch it, that's part of the message. That's part of the Wachowskis. There are other messages in Cloud Atlas. But this is not about Cloud Atlas today. This is about Jeffrey Epstein. So let's get into this. This is from Cernovich.com. Jeffrey Epstein has been taken into custody. NBC and other outlets are reporting after Mike-Cernovich obtained a huge court win with the Second Circuit ordering the entire Epstein case files unsealed. He's been working on this for a while in conjunction with Alan-Dershowitz. And we know that Alan-Dershowitz has, well, we've been told, and it feels right to me. He's got the insurance file. He's got it. He's got video of everybody. So if Cernovich and Dershowitz are involved behind the scenes cracking this thing open, you got to figure out, okay, here's what I think. Alan Dershowitz is kind of a man without conscience. And I'm not sure Cernovich has much more of a conscience than Dershowitz. So Alan Dershowitz is somebody who I think would advance his own cause. I don't think he would care what side he's on, even though lately he's been theoretically pro-Trump, right? Because pro-Trump is pro-Israel, and we know that Alan Dershowitz is a hardcore Zionist at heart. Okay, so he's been supporting Trump in that effort. All right, let me continue to read this. Interveners, appellants Alan Dershowitz, Michael Cernovich, and the Miami Herald, that was the third party. The Herald was their kind of press and journalistic wing on this side, with reporter Julie Brown, appeal from certain orders of the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, Robert W. Sweet judge, denying their respective motions to unseal filings in a defamation suit. We conclude that the District Court failed to conduct the requisite particularized review when ordering the sealing of the materials at issue. At the same time, we recognize the potential damage to privacy and reputation that may accompany public disclosure of hard-fought, sensitive litigation. We therefore clarify the legal tools that district courts should use in safeguarding the integrity of their dockets. Accordingly, we vacate the district court's orders entered on November 2nd, 2016, May 3rd, 2017, August 27th, 2018, order the unsealing of the summary judgment record as described further herein, and remand the cause of the district court for particularized review of the remaining sealed materials. So there's a lot going on here. P.S. Verified Twitter is ablaze at news of Jeff Epstein's arrest for sex trafficking. And they're dishonestly trying to pretend that Mike Cernovich, he's just sticking up for his own. He's a horn tooter. Mike Cernovich is a great horn tooter. Let me just continue to read this. In recent months, the suit attracted the attention of pro-Trump blogger Mike Cernovich, who intervened the case in an unsuccessful push to release a large volume of blacked-out court filings. I want to know what's really going on, and we can't get it. Cernovich told Politico, this is a big story. My people care. Who are your people? My people. Set my people free. Julie Brown of the Miami Herald will win a Pulitzer Prize for her work on the Epstein story. She began her deep and important work in 2018. She did 10 times as much reporting as I did, and I wish her nothing but accolades. But anyone claiming I wasn't the first to file is considered a considerable personal financial risk to myself is simply lying. A considerable personal financial risk is simply lying. A lot of people say, why do you care who gets credit? Those people are called losers who never put their own skin in the game. In the real world, issues like these matter, as this stuff isn't free or inexpensive. And going after billionaire pedophiles is the kind of stuff that gets you hurt or worse. So he's making a case for him sticking his neck out and trying to get as much credit where credit is due. So his recent post, fake news media is trying to write Mike Cernovich out of the Epstein story he broke. Okay, so he's really pushing this narrative that I don't care if he's the guy or not. But what happens next? That's really what I think we're all asking ourselves, is where does this go? Well, it can go either way. It can go either way because Epstein was friends with the Clintons and he was a friend with Trump. So who's going to who's going to benefit from this. There's a lot going on here. There are a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts. And of course, I am a equal opportunity morning news revelation cup of coffee outlet. And I would be remiss to say that on the Trump side, well, actually be on the anti-Trump side, that there's a Texas County GOP chairman that claimed that Trump raped a 13-year-old girl at a Jeffrey Epstein party in 1994. So you're going to hear more of this. So Trump is this is the guy who ran for the local, I've actually had email exchanges with this dude. And I'll throw this in the chat. He ran for the head of the Republican Party. Here we go. He ran for the Republican Party here in Texas, in Austin. He actually won. And the guy, I tried to get him on my show one time. And we actually talked. And he's kind of a nutcase. Robert Morrow. Sounds a lot like Robert Morris. Unfortunately. So you can check this out. This guy has been on. He was a supporter of Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson was a mess. This guy's not in his right mind. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but he's not in his right mind if he supported Gary Johnson. Because Gary Johnson was a third-party shill, and he was frankly not very bright. And if Gary Johnson hadn't run against Trump, Trump would have got the Gary Johnson votes, and the supporters of Hillary or the left couldn't rely on their 6 million asterisk votes that Hillary got. By the way, they're planning on running Justin Amash as a third-party candidate against Trump in the next election, provided we have another election, provided that Trump makes it through. There's some scuttlebutt that Mike Pence was brought back to New Hampshire for Trump to have a meeting with him. And everybody's been wondering what went on with that meeting. Why was Mike Pence's trip interrupted? Some people are speculating that Trump is getting Pence ready to step into the breach because the Epstein stuff could go a bit rogue here. Everybody's going to be fighting to control the narrative on the Epstein side of things. And there's another link here, media war erupts. Friend of Clinton's or Trump's pal, media war erupts after Epstein's arrest. If it's not one freaking thing, it's another. And it's another major wedge issue for the country. And I'm not saying that Jeffrey Epstein shouldn't have his day in court or his day in jail based on what he was doing and the people that he was involved with. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. There are all kinds of people that were tied to Nexium. Have any of them done any hard time? I don't think so. That trial's pretty much over, right? I mean, Keith Rainier, he got sentenced. Claire Bronfman's never going to do any time. Her sister's never going to do any time. I don't know if Allison Mack is going to do any time. The only person that's going to do any time is going to be the David Koresh of this modern sex and trafficking cult. The only person. Kirsten Gillibrand's father was deeply embedded in Nexium. And you think that splashback is going to hit Kirsten Gillibrand? No, it's not. It's not. You know, can they force people's hands? Can they extort them because they say, well, we've got the goods on you? And if you don't cooperate, we're going to nail you to the wall. Can they do that? Possibly. But Kirsten Gillibrand looked pretty chirpy to me during that last debate. I don't think she's got any governors. I don't think she's got any handcuffs on her right now. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Epstein thing. And of course, the Epstein thing happened the night right after, and I mean right after, this earthquake. Now, I got into the earthquake, and people that are on the deep alternative side, and I talked about this last night on the show, China Lake apparently is a major base and a major operation. and they've got, it's a major DUMB, deep underground military bunker or built military base. And according to people that are in the kind of exopolitics game, that there's cloning that's going on there. It's kind of a geoengineering chemtrail center. And there's even a very strong connection with so-called alien intelligence. Okay, so all that's going on, and those two earthquakes happened both at Ridgecrest, where China Lake, and that was the epicenter. It's very rare for two earthquakes to occur within a very short period of time at the same epicenter. It's not impossible, but the odds are pretty. And there are other earthquakes. I mean, they're ongoing. It wasn't just like one, and then about 4 days later another one. Of course, there are aftershocks, and there's a lot that's still going on there right now as we speak. But the epicenter, with both of the heavy-duty Richter scale activity being centered right there, is interesting, to say the least. So, is the earthquake and the Epstein arrest connected? They're both shocking. They're both going to cause waves, and both of them are going to do or have done some damage. Now, it's going to be interesting to find out where that damage is going to unfold. What collateral damage is going to happen as a result of this. I guess it was Pelosi's daughter, who people, I think, question the validity of her actually being a daughter. I'm not, but I've heard that. And if you look at her daughter, at times her daughter seems very masculine. I'm not saying that there aren't masculine women or feminine men. There are clearly that in the world. Right? Anyway, this is not about the daughter. The daughter said that, essentially, this is going to be a shit show. And they're going to be, our friends, both on the right and the left, are going to be dragged through hell. So this is interesting. We're entering into kind of a new phase here with everything, all these indictments and all the stuff that people on the Q-tip have been talking about now for the better part of 2 years. And the latest event between China Lake and Jeffrey Epstein is that the two events are connected. And now they're firing back against the deep state. Okay, that sounds plausible on the surface, until you find out that Robert Mueller's daughter is the prosecutor in that area of Florida. And it's like, what? What's going on here? So I'll read this to you. This is another unusual kind of element here that bears witnessing. Let me see here. Prosecutor. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, Epstein is in the same prison right now as El Chapo. He's facing 45 years. Here we go. This is the story. It's from the Gateway Pundit. Let's see. What do we have here? It is... CNN reported on Saturday night that the prosecutor is James Comey's daughter. A team of federal prosecutors from the Southern District of New York, along with some in the Public Corruption Unit, have been assigned to the case. Why is this important? Well, it's New York, and that's where Trump is based. And when you see Comey's daughter, oh my God, I'll throw this into the chat. Boy, this could go sideways for Trump. I'm just telling you right now. This could go sideways for Trump. Here we go. Here we go. Right there. Here's a picture of Maureen-Comey. She's at the Pussy Hat March, and she's wearing a t-shirt with Hillary, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Elizabeth Warren. Maureen-Comey, the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, is one of the prosecutors. She's an assistant U.S. attorney in New York State. She's been there since 2015. She went to William & Mary. What do the comments say? Conflict of interest. I'm sure the flies on the wall here, Trump leniency, Trump probation, Trump immunity. She knows her daddy's chestnuts are starting to roast. In the open fires of corruption, she'll try and help him. She'll try to get him to compose. They may try to drag Trump into it as an election year tactic. Going to be difficult. I'd have it from good and reliable sources that Epstein and Trump have history. Trump and Jeffy barred from golf clubs, hotels after Jeffy was caught hitting on propositioning underage daughter of home of Trump's friends. But since when has truth stopped the mainstream media from bashing righteous patriots? Trump was the only one who cooperated in 2009. He helped the prosecution get the goods on Epstein. Okay, that's another very interesting wrinkle to this. This is going to be fascinating to watch. Let's see. A Comey on a prosecution team means the fix is in for an acquittal. Comey's daughter is cut from the same mold as Chelsea Clinton and Ivanka Trump. By the way, not a chance with Comey's daughter job. She'll push Epstein to implicate Trump. She'll destroy any Clinton evidence. So this is a major wrinkle with Comey's daughter being the prosecutor. What do you guys in the chat room think about this? Comey's daughter, not Mueller. I said, yeah, Comey. Yeah, I just said Comey, didn't I? I apologize. Comey's daughter. That's what I've been reading. Comey's daughter. But Cernovich is trying to get even for people threatening his family. But it could be. The letter Pence and others got during Bush's funeral comes to mind. What else do we have here? Comey's daughter, probably more resort than prison. Probably. Morning, Joe. What do you guys think? What do you think? Do you think that James Comey's daughter, not Mueller's daughter, my apologies for that, James Comey's daughter is going to run, be the lead back here in this story, in this case? Is she going to run interference? Is that her role? Is she going to support the Clintons? Is she going to go after Trump, who has been quite disparaging of her father? In fact, Trump fired her father, right? You know, these are blood ties. But here we go again. It's going to be, so I would think, right, I would think that Cernovich and Dershowitz would have had some foresight if they knew that Maureen-Comey was going to be the woman who's going to be on the District Court of New York prosecuting this thing. I mean, you would think they would have taken that into consideration, right? At least I would have. But strange bedfellows sometimes. But this is going to be big. We know it's going to be big. And it's like a roulette wheel. It's like the wheel of fortune. And it is spinning, right? I mean, it's an apt kind of gambling metaphor for Trump, the administration, and even the country. You know, can we deal with another crisis, another case that's being adjudicated in the court of public opinion? Can we deal with this? Can the country hold up under another barrage of assaults on the executive branch of the government and Trump in general? It's a question. You know, are we going to suffer from conflict fatigue around all this at some? And I think we will. At some point, people are just going to throw up their hands. It was interesting because, on Friday, when I had Steve and Chris on the show, they talked about being at a 4th of July event and how very few people talked about Trump at that event. And the year before, it was Trump this, Trump that. And that's just not happening. It's not happening because I think people are burnt out. And I think that there was no resolution with the whole Mueller case and Russia collusion. And by the way, I just got an email this morning. Apparently, the lawyer who was connected to, or the Russian official who was connected to, who's the lawyer who set everybody up at Trump Tower, that setup meeting, that guy is dead. Okay, so something very specific on Trump Jr. and who was in that Stanford on at that time was kind of coordinating. I forget who was on at that time. I know Jared Kushner was there. He wasn't that into that meeting, by the way. I don't blame him. I really don't blame him. But anyway, that government official, whose name I don't have right now, that guy is dead. So do we have the fortitude and the endurance to go through another adjudication in the court of public opinion? Will this tear this country apart again? Because even if it's going to be on the Clinton side, let's just say, for instance, those of us who believe that the Clintons need to do some serious perp walking for all of their crimes and misdemeanors through the Clinton Foundation, and I'm one of them. Let's just say that that's the case, and this is going to go down. Will this, again, tear the country asunder even more? Because I don't think the left can look at facts at this point and say, oh yeah, you're right. The Clintons were corrupt. We were wrong. Yeah, we saw that during the last election cycle with the DNC and Bernie Sanders. And this just confirms everything. Thank you for opening our eyes. We're forever changed and transformed. And we're going to walk away now. Do you think that's going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. Because when people are deeply invested in their party and their belief system, at the end of the day, they will essentially die for it. Because they just keep doubling down. They just keep doubling down. And then they go on the attack. They go on the attack. What about on the Trump side? Let's say Trump is implicated in this. Let's say where there's smoke, there is some fire with Trump. Do you think people on the Trump side could say, hey, you know what? This is the case. This is true. He was involved in this. You know, I have to step up and say, I don't agree with it. The evidence is there. It's clear that he's got to go down. Could people on the right do that as well? Because that, you know, or would they just continue to go in the same dig their heels in mode and go after the left? And what happens if both go down? See, that's another scenario. What happens if both Trump and the Clintons go down during this? It's possible. Then where are we? In any case, this is going to be the story. It's going to be the story unless, of course, something happens to Jeffrey Epstein in that prison. And I would not be surprised if that is the case. I'd be very surprised if Jeffrey Epstein makes it through this trial cycle, to be quite honest with you. You think Jeffrey Epstein's going to get on the stand? You think somebody's going to let Jeffrey Epstein get on the stand, put him on the stand and talk? You think that's going to happen? Because he already knows he's going to go to jail. He'll take the fifth. He won't talk about it. I'll take the fifth. He'll take the fifth. He'll just go right back, even if it's an indictment. Even if it's an indictment for him to speak, he won't speak. Are you kidding me? He'll have his tongue cut out before he turns on these people. Possibly. Possibly. There could be that one scintilla of depraved humanity in Jeffrey Epstein's makeup that will allow him to turn on people. In which case, watch out. Watch out. He can cut a deal. He can implicate a bunch of people. It's going to be this is going to be the story. But again, my question is, do we have the fortitude? Do we have the endurance? Do we have the belly, the gut, the stomach to go through this for another 2 years? That's my question. What kind of collateral damage will this do? And if it gets to the truth, I'm all for it. I mean, if it gets to that, you know, deep, dark rabbit hole that most of us know what goes on in that deep, dark rabbit hole, and the real perps start to have to, you know, have their moment of reckoning, I'm all for it. Then we'll have to go through it. But if that doesn't occur, and all we have is another shit show that we saw with Mueller and Russiagate, I'm not sure the country can get through this. Again, I think it will be toxic and damaging. If this thing gets partisanized, it'll get toxic and damaging. If it is all about the activation of the truth, then it's a whole other story. I have my doubts. Alan-Dershowitz is a fixer, man. He's a professional fixer. He got what's his name off? Klaus Barbie. Is that the guy's name? He got him off. He got basically a murderer off. That's Alan-Dershowitz. And some people will say, well, no, he wasn't guilty. Right? The court said he wasn't guilty. Okay. All right. So maybe I'm wrong on that. That's my opinion. I'm Klaus. What's his name? It's not Barbie. Anyway, Sonny was his wife. Right? You know what I'm talking about. Famous movie. Jeremy Irons is in it. Anyway, yeah, Alan-Dershowitz. He's controlling the narrative. What? Why? What's in it for him? Does he want to save his ass? Is that part of this thing? He's the guy to watch. Dershowitz is the guy to watch around all of this. So you want to track what's happening, watch Alan-Dershowitz. Because he's the guy that's really got the goods, if you know what I mean. All right, let me check in with you guys. Patriot Soapbox called Cernovich out, but this was not his work. They said he was not behind the uncovering material. I believe that. Comey's daughter, let's see. A question, will the Dems trade the Clintons to take down Trump? Because if you tie Trump to Epstein, the Clintons are 10 times more connected. That's what I was kind of talking about. That is the question, isn't it? Damn. Jeffrey is a dead man either way. I suspect a heart attack will be delivered. Hillary canceled her speech at a big DC conference on artificial voice intelligence technology. It seems she saw something on the horizon. I'm pixelated. I'm sorry about that. The Matrix is breaking me up. Conflict of interest. Give me a break. That's funny. Probably more resort than prison. Comey's daughter. Yes, Comey's daughter. So this is the big story. And again, some people are connecting this with the earthquake / explosion in Ridgecrest / China Lake. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We are in the thick of it now. This Epstein thing is big. It's significant. It's not going to go away. I just wonder again if we have the endurance to go through this for another 2 years, or is America just going to be fatigued? Absolutely fatigued. Let's see what else we have. Von Bülow, thank you, Klaus von Bülow. Klaus Barbie is he's a war criminal. Klaus von Bülow, right, and Sonny von Bülow. Yeah, thank you very much. Let's see, Klaus von Bülow. They may need to give somebody up to save face. The one thing that you need to continue to wrap your head around is that politics in modern America is like the mafia. It's like gangs, okay? You got the Clinton gang, you got the Bush gang, you've got the Trump gang, you've got the Netanyahu gang, you got the China gang, the Rothschild gang. It's all about gangs. Gangs masquerading as families, sometimes bloodline families. And gangs have their own self-interests. And sometimes they work hand in glove with other gangs. And sometimes they order hits on other gangs. It's the last resort. They don't like to order hits because then you have this back and forth and this crossfire. So are we going to see open gang warfare here over the course of the next few months? It's going to be really, really interesting. And this happened again right on the heels of the eclipse. We've got another eclipse coming up in 8 days. And then the big eclipse, which is happening in December. Hold on your hands, it's about to heat up and get very, very interesting. Very interesting. And here's what I would advocate, that even though, because people on both sides, the left and the right, they want to see people hang. The left wants to see Trump hang by his testicles, okay? Absolutely. And the right wants Hillary Clinton and the Clintons and anybody else who has been involved in this obstruction of justice or the burning of and the bleaching of the hard drives and emails. They want their scalps as well. So both sides want to have some kind of closure around, what they would deem sociopaths that have been placed in positions of power or in positions of power. And it's starting to feel a lot like the French Revolution. It's starting to feel a lot like that. Who's going to be the Robespierre of our time? It's a dangerous place to be. Very dangerous place to be in a lot of ways. When I say the French Revolution, it's the dark side of that French Revolution, which, by the way, was stage managed, and it was stage managed by the Rothschilds, because all the French elite, the really, really powerful French elite, got their heads cut off. And who do you think got their resources? All right, what else do we have? Imagine all criminals truly went away. What would that even look like? I'm willing to risk it. Hey, Chris, nice to see you. This whole Epstein thing, it could be a distraction for something else going on behind closed doors. Quite possibly. Quite possibly. All right, let's see. Epstein is a CIA. Epstein, to me, is probably more connected to the Mossad. That's what I think. And that's through Ghislaine-Maxwell. And Ghislaine-Maxwell, or Ghislaine, however you say, I think it's Ghislaine, but her father was Robert-Maxwell, who was MI6 and a Mossad operative. And like I said on last night's show, Epstein Island, or Pedo Island, was a honey trap. In as much as it was a place for people to have illicit sex, there are video cameras everywhere. Everywhere. I'm waiting for the alien false flag invasion. Oh. Here we go. Quite possible. Robert, do you have a link to your J-Wire? That's going to happen, I think, next week, next Sunday. I don't know. As soon as I get the link, I'll put it up on Facebook and over on the 15 Minutes of Flame side and whatever's going on here. As soon as I get that link, I'll post it for you guys. It's a good interview. Been asking Earth to please emit toxic fumes into these families' compounds. First time I did, Rothschild matriarch went kaput. Coincidence? No, I think here's what I think. I think we have the ability to direct and guide events. I know this because I've done it at a high level. But here's the deal, okay? Here's the deal. You can't wish harm on another person. You cannot wish harm on another person. You can direct energies and events around that situation. But if you wish harm on another person, it comes back to you. The conditions themselves can create something that the person has to deal with. That's different, okay? I had a deep insight into this in the 90s when I was involved in that sort of thing. So if you plan on operating magical, that's what I'm looking for, technologies at a high level into the public arena, which can be done, just make sure that you're not wishing harm directly at that person, because it'll come back to you. That is the one law you cannot break. There could be elemental or surrounding or ambient conditions, but not directly. I'm looking forward to that interview. Okay. Paul, that brings up something about the UFO stuff. It's starting to really percolate. And even, I think Trump was talking to Tucker Carlson about... you know what's interesting? Okay, here's what I'm thinking. If you look at what happened with Nixon, people forced Spiro Agnew out of the office. The downfall of Nixon started with the downfall of Spiro Agnew. I think every official has corruption, pretty much, tied to them. If they don't, they're rare. I think some of them are it's all degrees. Some is super major, some is really small and minor, but by the letter of the law, they could probably get busted for something. But that's what happened with Spiro Agnew, is he got busted for corruption. And they took Agnew out. And then Nixon was kind of forced to bring Jerry Ford on. And Jerry Ford was part of the Warren Commission. And that was his payback for being a part of the Warren Commission and burying the evidence around JFK. He became vice president. And then once Nixon went through the impeachment process, Jerry Ford had to find another vice president, and that became Nelson Rockefeller. Now, back then, nobody would have elected a Rockefeller as president of the United States. No, nobody would have. And for 2 years, Nelson Rockefeller was the de facto president of the United States. Because Jerry Ford was just a placeholder, nothing more. Nothing. I think Jerry Ford's real name was what, Leslie King or something like that. It's not even his real name. Anyway, I could see Mike Pence not being vice president of the United States in the near future, the not so distant future, and Trump bringing somebody else in as vice president. And you know who I think that could be? I think it could be Tucker Carlson. I think it could be Tucker Carlson. And here's what I think. I think Tucker Carlson could be Trump's insurance. Think about that. If they take Trump out, then the vice president becomes president of the United States, and that would be Tucker Carlson. And that would be the left's worst nightmare. Because Tucker Carlson is unimpeachable. That guy has very little dirt on him. He may have said a few things, but he's not a politician. So he doesn't have the same kind of potential graft and corruption tied around his ankles. Just think about that for a moment. Let that marinate. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Let's see, the sound you make when you blow your nose. Spirits not to know criminals and work with them on some level. Absolutely. Paulette, you're right. You're right. You've got to, when you get at a really high level, everybody's dirty. And this is one of the things that the American public is so naive about. So incredibly naive. Because we're all just looking for somebody who, it's almost like, and that's why Barack Obama was effective. He was like the Immaculate Conception. He had very little history. But, when you dig down and figure out, where he comes from and who he was consorting with and all that stuff, clearly the ties are there. But before that, Barack Obama just, he was like a pod person. He just popped in out of nowhere very quickly. Like his ascent to the Oval Office was, as they say here in Texas, muy rapido. What else we have? I would love Tucker Carlson as vice president. Let's not forget, Gerald Ford, Kathy O'Brien. There we go. Okay, I got about 6 minutes left, so I'm about to get out of here. Thanks everybody for being a part of today's show. I'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget, we've got the big event happening in October, and I'll be posting the link to that over on the 15 Minutes of Flame side. I'll also be putting it into the description of the show here on the 15 Minutes of Flame side. And I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to continue to track the Epstein case, I'm sure, over the course of the next few weeks. Remember, Mercury's retrograde. It's in Leo. Leo represents children. And we're going to find out more stuff here, no doubt, about children, young women, possibly young boys as well. And are we going to be able to get through this time? We're going to be able to hold our molecular structure together as a country. We'll find out. You'll find out. But remember, use your head to discern what's real, your heart to step when it's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.